Okay, so this is day 2 on your ink wash Halloween Legends project. Hopefully by this time you have all of your main shapes laid out with your ink wash, okay? Our goal for this next part of the project, which is kind of our final part, is to go in and create details, texture, and shadows using cross-hatching, okay? So quick review, what cross-hatching is simply crossing lines to build up value, okay? If I cross my lines more and overlap them more, I will get a darker value. If I space them out farther from each other, more of the white paper shows through, so I get a lighter value, okay? The thing I like about cross-hatching is you can create your cross-hatching with the normal crisscross. You can also use cross-hatching if you want to create a direction or movement by having all your cross-hatching lines going the same direction. So for example, I'm gonna have all these ones go diagonal, and then I'm just gonna build up more lines in the area I want to be darker. But it does kind of give an interesting movement or motion to a piece. Okay, so that's basic cross-hatching. We apply cross-hatching the same way we would apply value, in the sense that there should be a light source, okay? Anything that the light source is touching is white. Anything the light source is not touching is in shadow or dark, okay? So you would go about that sort of similar. Now, this is an example of where I'm using some directional cross-hatching, okay? Because I'm making a sphere. I'm kind of making my line curve a little bit, okay? Just to kind of help convey the idea that this is a sphere and it's round. Notice as I get closer to my highlight, I'm gonna fade away, make the marks fewer and farther apart. As I get closer to my shadow, I overlap the marks and I build them up, okay? Cross-hatching can be trickier to find that medium area, so just kind of gauge it by what you see. Okay, I see I have really dark here, I have really light here. So now I'm gonna try and find that in between. So lines are a little bit farther apart than they are in the darker area of my sphere, or in the shadow, okay? But there's still some space in between them, okay? And you can really build up that dark. As you see, I'm really, really overlapping the ink here to really get that nice dark value, okay? So when you are applying it on your image for today, I want to think about what things I want to be showing some detail in and some interest, okay? So for example, we know that my hand was one of the focal points I wanted to have, okay? So I can go in there with my ballpoint pen right over top of my ink wash here and start to build up some of the texture and details that I wanted to see, okay? This might be a time where you need to kind of look at one of your reference photos, depending on what it is you're trying to make. I know I'm really trying to get these knuckles to be like a bent and like contorted and stuff, because it's like a half-dead zombie-like person here, okay? So just gonna build up a little bit of texture in the hand, okay? This is also a good time where you can add some other details that maybe you couldn't really achieve by using just the ink wash, okay? Some things I could add in the background. You can see I started to make this little table, you know, other items that might be in my scene to help convey the story. Remember, we want to convey the legend that goes along with the story, or the origin of the story. So maybe there might be some like little beakers, little items that might have been used to mix things on the table. I feel like it'd be kind of funny if there was like a broom on the wall. I'm not sure if that really has to convey that it's like a witch or something, but I think it'd be kind of ironic to have that on the wall. Maybe it's held by some little hooks, okay? I started to kind of make my hearth look a little more three-dimensional here, just by adding some diagonal lines coming out of the corners of my shape. So then, you know, I'm gonna start to kind of build things up again with some basic shapes. I know I want it to look like there's a fire here. So thinking of what a log looks like when viewed from the side. It's gonna have a circle on the end there. Okay, I have this fire here, so I'm going to really build up some shadows. And remember that you can always go back in with your ink wash, and as I'm doing this fire, I think that might be kind of fun. to do a little bit more depth and shadow around my fire. Okay. For now, I'm just going to kind of build up a little bit of that. Okay. There might be some things such as the textures. Is my hearth built with brick? Is my hearth built with stone? Okay. Sometimes even just adding just some marks to give the idea of texture helps to tell the story a little bit. So just some horizontal lines here on my ground. Okay. So I'm building up texture, I'm building up value, but I'm also creating details and other things that are more exact that maybe was a little too difficult to get with just that ink wash, okay? There's some like herbs hanging on this wall. I don't know what, they're like some dried, maybe there's cat tails I'm thinking of, dried cat tails, different dried flowers and vegetation, okay? And I have my kind of wash already there, so it's already kind of dark, which was what's kind of fun here because I already have a lot of my value placed. I'm just adding the texture, I'm adding the depth. I don't necessarily have to build it up as much as I would if it was just a cross-hatching drawing, okay? Because I've already gone in to a lot of those areas, okay? Anything that you have that is in your foreground or focal point, you really want to spend more time on that. So like this is going to be, I don't know, some sort of an apple or something I'm thinking that's kind of floating in my little potion stew thing. Okay, so I'm going in there and I want to really try and finalize those little details that might be in there. Let's say there's like a little bone or something. Don't have to be like super exact. I'm just creating some shapes and I'm creating some edges. Okay, I had something here that was like going to be like a big leg bone. Okay, and now I'm going to kind of create some value on there. So the light is coming from my my fire for my story. So I'm putting my shadow on the right side of my objects in this little bowl. Okay, depending on your story, it might be different. And notice how I changed the direction of the marks. This is the curved part of the bone, I've made the marks more curved. If it's more of a straight part of the bone, I've kind of adjusted them to look more like that. Okay, just kind of building up different forms here. Don't have to know exactly what they're all going to be. They're just little shapes. Okay, I'm going to keep adding some more of those, but just kind of moving on to some other areas so that you guys can kind of see some other examples. Here I have this nice little shadow I've already created, but I'm going to emphasize that, and I'm going to pop out this little fruit shape I've created by adding some really dark contrast of the cross hatching behind it and over my ink wash. Okay, and sometimes I'm even just kind of scribbling in the shadows. Okay, cross hatching doesn't always have to be crisscross, like we talked about earlier. It can be diagonal lines. It could be curved lines. You don't have to limit yourself. You just have to kind of pick what you think is most fitting to your story and to defining your form for the viewer. Okay, kind of going to re-highlight that edge there. So at this point, I'm going to keep kind of going through and adding some more details, some more items in the background. Maybe I want to add some sort of a design here on this bowl as if it's some sort of a ceramic item that has some different impressions in it. I think I might do a little more interesting things here, like maybe there's going to be like a napkin or some sort of an object here. Okay. But really, I would just kind of keep focusing on the hand, the bowl, adding contrast around things to create and build up my story. Okay. So for these last few steps, really just kind of step back and think, is this the shape I'm trying to convey? And is this the story I'm trying to convey? Okay? All right, thank you guys for listening.